Here we will take a look at the top 5 moments from Dustin Poirier's career up until now. Poirier has been a consistent member of the lightweight elite for nearly a decade. At 30 years old, that is a rare accomplishment. The pride of Lafayette, Louisiana has always been a gamer and an exciting fighter. However, you can see in certain moments Poirier grew up and elevated in victory. In losses, he found a way to come back even better. Now he will stand against arguably the best lightweight of all time in Khabib Nurmagomedov, the undefeated Russian who has so far been unstoppable. So what were those top moments that brought Poirier to this point? For SBN MMA, I'm Shaquille Madjouri, and let's take a look at some of Dustin Poirier's biggest moments. The first one goes all the way back to the WEC, also known as World Extreme Cage Fighting. At 7-0, Poirier would make his WEC debut against another longtime top lightweight, Danny Castillo. This is a fight Poirier would lose by unanimous decision. Here, the Diamond learned a lot about wrestling heavy game since, for the most part, wrestling was not a big deal in his neck of the woods. It also gave him a taste of what a top-level 155-pounder can do. Poirier would go on a roll all the way through the UFC-WEC merger. He would see his next major test in the legend that is the Korean Zombie Chan Sung Jung. Zombie is a man known for his technical prowess and creativity in the cage, but even more so for his ability to resist damage and push through an opponent's offense. When these two met, the result was chaotic, but in the best of ways. A 5-round fight that went all the way to round 4. In the back and forth fight, both fighters had their moments. As the men began to gas, however, Zombie brought out that famous next gear and overwhelmed Poirier, ending his night via Darce choke. This was Dustin's first submission loss and first time being finished, period. Zombie showed Poirier a championship caliber performance and the Diamond kept up. This only built confidence in the young fighter. This fight was also at featherweight, a weight class he would eventually leave after his next big moment. Poirier would go on battling his way through the UFC, but a few years later, he would run into Mr. Ireland himself, Conor McGregor. The most famous UFC fighter of all time was on the cusp of his major breakout, and Poirier stood in his way. While the Diamond was game, McGregor was too much in every way, from trash talk to speed and the physical ability. On top of all that, it became clear that featherweight was just not the place for Poirier. He looked sluggish and slow and could not keep pace with the future double champion McGregor. This was Poirier's first brush with generational talent, someone who could transcend, much like Khabib, fighters that operate on different levels. As he continued through the grinder that was the lightweight division, Poirier would find himself in a rematch with Eddie Alvarez. The first fight ended in a no contest due to illegal knees. While immensely controversial, it was one of the best fights of the year. The second fight was a proving ground for Dustin. Winning this would allow him to redeem the first fight and settle who was really better, along with setting him up for a title fight. The second fight again ended with some controversy. Alvarez threw illegal elbows, but these allowed Poirier back to his feet, where he would eventually knock Alvarez out. Poirier stayed composed in the fight even when it was going bad for him, found his opportunity, and overcame the previous fight with an incredibly wild finish against Eddie. Lastly, we have Poirier's most recent fight before Khabib, the interim lightweight title fight and rematch against Max Blessed Holloway. The first fight was 7 years previous. In that time, both men had cemented themselves as truly elite fighters in their respective divisions. Holloway became the featherweight champion and is currently chasing Aldo's spot as the greatest featherweight of all time. So when these two met again, fans were treated to what a true evolution of fighters looks like. While Poirier did have the advantage in that he was the bigger fighter and had a win over Holloway, it said little about how far both men have come. The fight was a bell-to-bell war. Both men had their moments, hurting each other and rallying back. Dustin did have the power advantage, and it showed the entire fight. He had to dig deep and fight arguably the best featherweight of all time. In winning, Poirier showed just why he's one of the best lightweights around. In his post-fight speech, he dedicated the fight to his wife Jolie. They had been married since before he was even in the UFC. There were days I went home busted and broken, and she believed in me when I didn't believe in myself, Dustin said. This is as much her belt as it is mine. I wouldn't be here without her. I love you, Jolie. This was the pinnacle of his long and heartened MMA career. Could his fight with Khabib surpass it? Potentially. We'll have to find out when he finally faces off with the mountain that is Khabib Nurmagomedov at UFC 242. What do you think is Dustin Poirier's best shot at beating Khabib? Let us know in the comments section, and if you want to see more great content just like this, please hit like, subscribe, and click that sweet, sweet notification bell. Till next time.